Hey everyone, this is Adam with PsychedelicInvest.com. I hope you're all doing well. In today's episode, we're going to be doing basically a weekly wrap up of the psychedelic sector and some of the more notable events that occurred. So, to get things going, Field Trip was halted the other day pending some news, and the news came out. And basically, what I'm reading here is that we're going to have Field Trip is spinning off into two companies. We're going to have Field Trip Health and Wellness, and then Reunion Neuroscience. So Reunion Neuroscience is going to focus on drug development, while Field Trip Health and Wellness will still focus on clinics and whatnot. What Field Trip has been doing. I'm not sure how to feel about this. I think it's it's smart to decouple the drug development program from the clinics. But at the same time, I really like Field Trip for their clinic program, and yeah, I as an investor, I'm not invested in Field Trip, but as somebody who would be assessing Field Trip, I'd want them to just be more focused on clinics as opposed to just having anything to do with drug development, because drug development is very expensive and you never know how it's going to turn out. Also, so from my perspective, it would basically be like Field Trip, if possible, save them that money, leave drug development to some of the other guys, and just create some partnerships where you can essentially use these these psychedelics that some of these companies create in your clinics. So that's my perspective on it. Like I said, I'm not sure how to feel about it, and I also don't know enough about Field Trip's drug development program to really be giving my full perspective on it. But that's just my kind of off my snap judgment off what I'm reading. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how this unfolds. I still love Field Trip's clinic program. I think it's great. But we'll see how separating the two of these is going to work out for the company. All right, and the second big one is Oregon. Oregon to become the first state to legally roll out psilocybin. So the Oregon's going to essentially be the first U.S. state to market legal psilocybin. And they're doing it for therapeutic purposes, is what I was reading. For yeah, they're going to greenlight a particular species of magic mushroom for therapeutic use in the state starting in 2023. All right, this is great for the sector as we want to see more states embracing psychedelics, and this is just good news to hear. You would think in normal market conditions that this would have a nice positive impact on the sector, but because of I guess, the macroeconomic tailwinds that we have going on within the market right now, a lot of these stocks are hurting, and any good news is really going to fall on deaf ears until the market is ready to enter some of these plays that they consider more risky. Biotech plays generally are more risky, so until the markets become less risk averse, we're likely not going to see much of a reaction to a lot of the good news that might be coming out of the psychedelic sector generally. So we have that. That's just the brief overview regarding that. But this actually leads me to my next topic, where I've had conversations with other investors within the psychedelic community, where they expressed concern in terms of what would happen if natural psilocybin was legalized for therapeutic purposes. Like, let's say, like it's happening in Oregon. What kind of effect would it have on these companies that are focusing on the synthetic counterpart of psilocybin, or some of these synthetic psilocybin analogs? Cybin is one of them. We have Atai. So the it's a good question to ask. So in my opinion, and I'm not going to try and like dig too deep into this today. I can make another video where I really get into it. But essentially, it's like this: there's going to be a significant amount of demand for both natural psilocybin and its synthetic counterparts. And there's many reasons. First off, with natural psilocybin, there's always going to be demand for that because it's just a staple within the psychedelic community. So there will never not be a demand for mushrooms, for natural mushrooms. Now, to speak on these synthetic counterparts, the things that can be done in a lab to some of these psychedelics, it is really, really interesting. And I'm going to use Cybin as an example here. So if Cybin's claims are true, CYB003, their psilocybin analog, has a faster onset and a shorter duration. So if that's true, and if other biotech companies continue to kind of tweak and work on these new formulations of psilocybin or just psychedelics generally, they could, for therapeutic purposes or clinic settings, you could start seeing a shift where people will start to prefer some of these new analogs that hit the market to natural psilocybin. So Cybin is a great example, and I mentioned this last time, is when you have when you're going to a clinic and you're doing psychedelic therapy, a 3-hour experience compared to an 8-hour one it's a very, very big it's a very, very big difference. And it's in my opinion, for this to work out and fit into a person's day-to-day life, the shorter the better. As long as they're getting the same amount of therapeutic relief or comparable therapeutic relief. So that's where I stand with that. I think there's going to be a huge amount of demand for both natural psilocybin and its synthetic counterparts. With the synthetic counterparts, it's much, much easier to get dosing down, to get dosing exact, essentially. So if they have a pill that they're working on, like a psilocybin pill, whatever, or a strip, like I've talked about in other videos, like a psilocybin dissolvable strip, each strip is going to have X amount of psilocybin, and it's going to be like that for all strips because it's made in a lab by professionals, and that's what they're doing. They're making sure every dose is exact. With natural psilocybin, I think it can be a little bit more hit or miss. I'm 90% sure that they're currently working on like getting natural psilocybin dosing down to a pretty exact science as well. But I don't know if we're there yet. And regardless, I just think that for that specific reason, among others, synthetic psilocybin or synthetic psychedelics are going to have a place within, they're going to have a significant amount of demand in a therapeutic setting. So that's essentially my rant on that. I just think that there's going to be a lot of demand for natural and synthetic psilocybin. As an investor, I wouldn't worry too much about what happens if natural psilocybin is legalized. Is it going to just crush the whole biotech, all these formulations the psychedelic biotech sector is working out? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, we'll see how things unfold. But these are just my feelings regarding that. Now we'll just go to the charts where I can go over some of the just performance of some of the stocks we went over, or some of the companies we went over in the past, and then we'll wrap up the video, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. All right, so it's been a pretty ugly week for the stock markets generally. Specifically, the biotech sector is going to get harder than a lot of other sectors. So we have Compass. Once again, they're under $10. So for me, in past videos, I said I thought $10 was a great price. We're under that right now. All of these companies are going to be incredibly oversold. So as long as you pick a good company, and by good company, it's essentially a company that has a significant amount of cash, a company that has a good team working for them, a company that has a diverse pipeline, partnerships, this, that, and the other, you should be relatively safe picking up shares around these levels. I've made some purchases of ATI, for example, in the $5 range. So I'm currently down on those, but it's not stressing me out because, in my opinion, after assessing ATI, I think $5 is a great price to be in. And I foresee once the macroeconomic factors affecting the market kind of ease, I foresee a lot of these psychedelic plays bouncing back to their support levels and even above that. So we'll see how we'll see how things unfold. But also to talk on ATI, they have had an incredible amount of insider buys this past month, like a ridiculous amount. You can check the ATI subreddit, and you can check even some of the shroom subreddits, like shroom stocks. They've been tracking all the insider buys, and that to me is amazing, because as an investor, especially when the market conditions are like they are right now, to see insiders of a company supporting a stock the way insiders in ATI have been, it's very, very, it's very nice to see, and it's inspires confidence within the company. Take a look at Field Trip. So based off the news, I didn't think we would see a significant reaction from this, and it's pretty much in line with what I thought. I think investors are kind of maybe sharing my perspective, where it's like, yeah, we love Field Trip for the clinics, but maybe they are hoping that they focus more on the clinics and less on drug development. Who knows? I'm not sure. All I know is that the markets have essentially not really reacted. Field Trip is just moving along with the markets. If anything, it's red today. So there's that. We have Psilocybin, the company I spoke about in my last video. So in my last video, I said around 60 cents or what was it? It was in the first video I made on Psilocybin, I mentioned 70 cents being a support level. So Psilocybin has blown below 70 cents. We're at 55 now. I think they will recover rather quickly back towards that 70 cent support level, or that range. But they might hang out here or even drop down a little lower depending on what's going on in the markets. So we'll see what happens. I still like Psilocybin at these prices. I think it's at 55 cents. I think this is what they were trading at before any of the developments that have happened regarding the company over the last year occurred. So like even before the psychedelic sector had its moment, where all the psychedelic stocks were pumping like crazy. Psilocybin has basically given up all the gains and is trading right around the levels it was more than a year ago. So food for thought. We have Nummy here. So once again, we had that news about Nummy and Novamind. Market is very risk off right now. No reaction really. You have Numinous sitting at 35 cents. I think with the joining of both companies, or with Numinous acquiring Novamind, it could be very good for Numinous. So we'll see how this unfolds over the course of time. But once again, trading in very oversold territory for Numinous. All right, and now I'm going to bring in Truffle here. So Red Light Holland. The reason I'm doing this is because of the talk of legalization and whatnot. So what Red Light Holland does is they focus on recreational natural magic mushrooms. So they essentially are going to be the providers to any place that has, any state, any country that has recreational psychedelics. They will be a supplier essentially, and that's their business model. So I think it's an interesting play to look at, because there are places that are turning recreationally legal for psychedelics, and Red Light Holland is the only publicly traded company, I think, focusing on this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's worth taking a look at, and it can cover your bases in terms of medicinal psilocybin and also recreational. So figured I'd mention that for you guys. It's been a rough week in the markets. Let's see what next week holds for us. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. This is Adam with Psychedelic Invest, and I'll see you guys.